Welcome back. You're now watching the political segment on The Weekend Show. On Thursday, the 12th of June, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu officially marked 2 years as president of Nigeria. Now, he gave a 44-minute presentation at the joint sitting of the National Assembly with the House of Representatives and the Senators. On this segment, we will be reviewing 2 years in office from the political angle and also looking at reforms in the energy sector. Joining us to have this conversation, I have Engineer Udengs Eradiri, the Labour Party gubernatorial candidate for Bayelsa State in 2023. Welcome to the Weekend Show.
Thank you, and good morning, Nigerians.
Also joining us, we have David Raymond Edet, who is an energy policy expert and good governance advocate. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I'll start with you. It's 2 years of the current administration. What's your overview or your take or assessment on how this administration has performed so far?
Well, I think that, first of all, let me congratulate Nigerians on the Democracy Day that we just celebrated. Nigeria had been in a very precarious situation when the president took over. So I want to say that another big congratulations to President Tinubu for the doggedness and the capacity I've shown in taking very difficult decisions to deal with the problems of Nigeria. The fuel subsidy removal is one thorny issue that Nigerians have always raised, but we have not talked about the benefits that followed it. A lot of benefits. States are getting a lot of money. I only wish that the states would be investing those monies into the lives, into projects that will affect the lives of the people. So I think that overall, you look at infrastructure, the coastal road is going on very smoothly, and that road is creating a lot of jobs for young people. You go to the East-West Road and other roads in Nigeria, maybe most people don't travel, so they don't see that actually the Ministry of Works is doing a lot of work around the country. The East-West Road, for instance, I've seen a lot of progress since this administration took leadership. You talk about security in the Niger Delta. The recent Christmas statistics showed that we had the lowest rate of crime in the Niger Delta, kidnappings and all other vices, because the president engaged community policing structure in the securing of pipeline infrastructure in the Niger Delta. So they engaged Tantita Security Services as well as the pipeline infrastructure, which are two companies that are community-based companies who are doing a lot in engaging the young people of the Niger Delta to secure oil assets in the region. Today you can see that gradually the oil is improving. We're 2 million barrels, we are going up because communities are now beginning to feel that they are part and parcel of what is going on in the region. Things may not be we are not where we are, but there's a lot of room for improvement. Look at the peace process the president is deepening. The Ogoni issues, first the University of Environment that the president established in Ogoni land. And then just recently in Democracy Day, he honored the Ogoni 9, which of course I see as a major step in trying to appease the people of the Niger Delta and then rewrite some of the wrongs that government had done in the past. I believe that with what the president is doing, he came in, he had to pay bills that were owed airlines. I remember that to go to Port Harcourt, we used to pay 300, 400,000. But today, it has been steady between 100 and 150,000 because some of the bills that were owed airlines, this presidency came and cleared those bills. And you can look at what he's doing in education. In the Niger Delta today, working through the NDDC, the president is reaching out. They light up Niger Delta. Entire region that used to be in darkness is lit up with the intervention of the NDDC through the support of the president. For the first time, he set up a board that have been very stable, led by Dr. Samuel Ogbuku. They are giving out lessons, electronic pads to kids in schools. So if you go to schools in the Niger Delta, you see that children in school can now learn using electronic tabs that have been distributed to schools. They're renovating schools, roads in the region. Just yesterday, you can see that they were distributing farm tools to farmers. So I think that the president is trying his best to get Nigeria back on track, having met a very difficult situation. And so The best we can do is to support this leadership and call on the governors. I keep talking about the governors. These governors are collecting a lot of money as a result of the subsidy removal. How many of them have put that money back in projects that will affect the lives of the people? I think that we need to support the government and ensure that these governors do what is necessary for the people to feel the impact of leadership.
You've mentioned a couple of things which I do agree with, and being in Abuja here, some of the ministers have done some remarkable work, like works which you spoke about, and also we've seen what the FCT minister has done. Roads which were completed in about 20 years in Abuja have now been completed. But I watched an interview with Senator Seriake Dixon a couple of days ago where he stated that the president missed a chance in this peace process which you've spoken about to address the situation in Rivers State. And going after that, we've seen the Senate, the committee overseeing the emergency rule in Rivers State, hurriedly go on to approve appointments for the Independent National Electoral Commission for Rivers State and some board appointments within the states. If this was a 6-month placeholder to create peace and sustainability in the state, why wasn't this addressed? Why hasn't the peace efforts in Rivers State been extended beyond the state of emergency? It's like everyone has just gone to bed, and now they are making appointments which could influence the way things move in the state.
Okay, you know, this Rivers issue, it goes with a lot of emotions. A lot of people are getting involved because they hold different sides of the stick. Some people are on this end, the others are on this end. I have been very consistent on this issue of Rivers State. First, it was to be ethnicized by leaders of the Niger Delta. A simple political issue. When Governor Wike was picking SIM, there was no Ijaw man in that meeting. Ijaw people did not play any role. So if eventually they have picked somebody from your ethnic nationality, it is only normal that you support a process. But when there are disagreements, we are too quick to ethnicize it. And that's why we are discussing this issue the way it is. That matter was strictly a political issue. And even as we move on, it's beginning to still take the same dimension. The president intervened in Rivers State to stop the removal of the governor. I think that the president is not being given the credit that he deserves. They talked about why didn't he use the Democracy Day. Look, PDP governors are in court. They took the president to court on the matter in Rivers State. I still blame Sim Fubara because in my earlier position on it, I said that Sim did not have the capacity to manage leadership. And is further expressing that. The president came and saved his impeachment. It was only proper that the peace process, he should have taken it, deepened it enough to resolve the internal issues. I have spoken to the assembly members. I talk to people. I'm also a leader in the Niger Delta, so I know exactly what is going on. The suspended governor goes to see Governor Wike, get the photo optics, and left. And then the next thing, he has gone to see the president. I believe that Nigerian jobbers have put the governor on one chance, as usual. They will come and say, okay, come, we'll take on and go see president. He went and took the photo optics and left, instead of going to reach out to the principal actors, the state assembly, because he actually committed impeachable constitutional offenses that the assembly is holding against him. I thought that he should have met the speaker, gone to see his assembly members, take them along. He should have gone to that meeting with the president, with these leaders that are on the other side of the divide, and not go alone. As I speak to you, they are just waiting for him. If the president reinstates him today, he'll be impeached tomorrow, because he hasn't done anything with respect to engaging the principal actors. So when you see a former governor talk about the issues, yes, it would have been an opportunity for the president to use the Democracy Day to reinstate him. But the issues have not been dealt with. And anybody who knows, except they don't like Sim, Martin Luther King Jr. said, in the end we shall remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Instead of seem to be doing that reach out, they are dancing and singing songs. Before he went to see the president, came out, his boys have started singing songs and taunting the opposition. When you do those things, you further deepen the anger amongst the people. I thought that Governor Sim should have been doing this engagement, reaching the elders that their egos have been bruised. It's no longer about Wike and himself. It's about the issues in the state. And then the administrator, I think I want to again thank the president for intervening in Rivers State. If you go to Rivers State today, all the resources of the state is intact. I tell you because I know, when they start this political war, you can imagine how much money that would have been involved. But this administrator have said no, he will not touch a dime and froze the entire Rivers account. People are going about their normal business. You no longer hear about government house and who is fighting who or the other. I think that this calm that the president have brought into this process, Sim and the Ijaw leaders, who takes him as their own. If we were beating the drums of war, now that they seem to be calm, why are we not now leading him, holding him? Because clearly, he doesn't have the capacity to do that engagement. Let the Ijaw leaders now hold him to go to those places and resolve this issue so that when they come back on board, they will be on one page. If you instate Sim today, they will be impeached.
Okay, let's move to another topic. Engineer Udeng Zaradere, you ran under the ticket of Labour Party in Bayelsa State in 2023. Are you still a member of the Labour Party?
No, I left the Labour Party. Labour Party is not a serious.
So are you now a member of the APC?
Yes, I joined the APC in December last year.
Good. So you just stated that the Labour Party is not a serious
No,
party.
they are not serious.
What's your reason?
I am first-hand product of the lack of capacity, lack of integrity, and lack of competence of the party. So I know what I saw in engaging the individuals who felt that they will be able to solve Nigeria's problem. You can see, I'm not there now. You can see what's going on. Now it shows that they were not ready in the first place. And then my state, our people are so poor. It's only governors and former governors who have resources to play the kind of politics that is at play today, where people will be buying votes 50, 60, 70,000 naira. I don't have that kind of resources. Our people are too poor to sustain an opposition. And so I've decided that I'm going to work with the ruling party, just as we have always done as a people, so that when the time comes, we can be given the opportunity.
But what does that say about the people? Because especially your state, a lot of you have moved from the PDP, you to Labour, and then to APC. Yeah. And I remember you just some minutes ago talking about how Sim, for instance, left the president and they were already touting the opposition. Mr. President spent the first 15 minutes of his Democracy Day address pretty much touting the opposition as well. Isn't that ironical?
No, you can't, if you were the president, what will you do? You are going
to speak to the needs and the problems of the people. Yes, he spoke to the successes and said inflation is low. You and I know the level of inflation we have seen in this country. Prices have pretty much, and we are not blaming the current president entirely, but they are the realities that the average market woman is dealing with. My team here, most of them have to use taxis and not like Bolt and Uber. They need to use different like 3 different cars or even bikes to get to work on a daily basis. These are the people who really matter in Nigeria. Yeah. Not at a higher level, not those ones spending 50, 60. How does that play to the average Nigerian who you are going to go back to by March next year to say they're primaries and we want another 4 years in government? You know, the problem is that Nigerians are transactional in nature. So transactional leadership, what do I get now? And transactional followership. When you get a transformational leader, is a man who looks at the future, designs a vision and says, look, we are going to achieve that. The road to getting to that point, there are a lot of bitter experiences. Those are the experiences that Nigerians are facing. And that's why sometimes I worry, I keep talking about the governors and say, look, if the government have taken a step in ensuring that we no longer borrow, we no longer spend forex in buying
petroleum products, you take off the subsidy, which I've seen what Dangote and other refineries are doing today, and gradually things are catching up. We expect that the excess money given to governors can now be used in projects that will truly begin to affect the society. I give you an example. In Akwa Ibom, and this is credit to the Akwa Ibom governor, the Akwa Ibom governor has a day set aside for civil servants to go to farm. I was told that each local government was made to acquire 10 acres of land for farming. And then he put an incentive at the end of the year. The local government that does best can win about 200 million. And that have encouraged a lot of people to go to the farms. And then you can see that if you go to Akwa Ibom, the food prices are now going down because people are now producing. Governors must be deliberate about programs that will reach the lives of the people. I'm not saying that building roads are not good, but you must equate it. You must do an assessment of your society. What are the things that I can quickly do, the quick wins that can affect the lives of the people? If we aggregate all those things, if the governors are actually working the way it should be, if we have a 60-70% of governors dealing with the issues and not looking at 2027 who wants to be vice president or who wants to be president, by now we would have aggregated all those successes around the states and local governments, and it would have been the basis for assessment. But today, everybody is talking about the presidency, to the point where the president have decided to even take over the functions of states. The president have created regional development agencies. What was the purpose of creation of states in the first place? It was because the states were meant to deal with challenges within their locality. But because they are not doing it, is the reason why development agencies have been proliferated everywhere. And that's why I'm saying that the presidency should begin to share the excess money that is coming as a result of the removal of subsidy and give half of that money to the development agencies, because those agencies are now doing the job of both state governors and local governments. So if we are able to ensure that governors and the governance structures in the country are functional, we won't be here looking at what the president has done today and what he hasn't done. But I assure you that because the president is a transformational leader, the programs that he has put in place will begin to yield fruits. And that's why today, international flights that people used to pay 5-6 million for economic ticket have now gone down to 1.5-2 million, because somebody had looked at it and said, look, let's clear the debts that are being owed. Let us take steps that will guarantee aviation fuel so that we can now manage transportation and things like that. So for me, I think that the president is doing his best. It is left for the states and local governments to complement, and at the end of the day, but so far so good. 2 years in office, if we can sit down here and start counting things that the president have done, I think there should be a lot of kudos to this president.
Thank you very much. I do agree with you on one major point about holding the state governors accountable, and the local government the local government chairman is extremely important. Let's bring David Raymond Edet in for his opinion. A lot of our conversation is going to be focused on the energy and electricity sector, but just before we get into that, what's your assessment of President Tinubu's 2 years in office?
Thank you very much. First, I want to thank my big brother and engineer here for giving my state free publicity. I always say Akwa Ibom is the best state in Nigeria. But I would say 2 years in office, of course, there's a lot of accolades that you can give to the president, and especially if you're within the political class. But I will speak as a young person in Nigeria, and you have also alluded to that. We are getting somewhere, but there's a lot of suffering on the way to where we are getting to. One of the key things that both the federal government, the state government, and even the local government should do is work on their communication to the people. There's going to be a lot of ease in suffering if people understand this is where we are all going to. And yes, the president has done, a lot of work with his team. I know he has a lot of assistants and aides on media and publicity. But so much work needs to be put in because there's a lot of suffering, And we know how we are as Nigerians. You're only going to think back that 4 years ago, how much was dollar rate? 4 years ago, how much was this? There's very little knowledge on what was going on behind the scenes to keep it at that level and why it needs to be the way it is now. So my assessment is, yes, there's a lot of good things, but there's still a lot of work to be done. We as young people, our job is to keep those in office on their toes. So, yes, you have built XYZ infrastructure, but that's only 20%, 30% of what needs to be done. So while we are supporting you, we are going to keep we're going to keep criticizing you constructively. And this is what else, these are the other areas that we need to focus on.
Okay, yesterday I watched Senator Ian Abaribe on a TV station where obviously was talking about people moving to the APC and Nigeria, the conversations around Nigeria being a one-party state or not being a one-party state. What's your thoughts on that?
It's a two-pronged thing, and I'm going to take it from two angles. Number one, the president has alluded to that, engineers also alluded to that. If the parties cannot put their house in order, that's not the fault of another party or another individual. Yes, the parties will say, oh no, it's this person that has sent someone to come and destabilize our party, but you have allowed it to happen. My house is not going to be in disarray at home, and I'll say it's my neighbor that sends their children to come and scatter my house. No, you have to take leadership in your party.
Since President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came into power, energy tariffs, electricity tariffs have increased exponentially. Once again, the Senate Committee Chairman on Power, which is electricity, Senator Abaribe, said that every government comes in promising to fix electricity, then they get in there and they see that it's bigger than what they anticipated or saw. I want to believe in some cases that's just an excuse because there should be preparation before it, but Nigerians at the end of the day still bear the brunt. So talking about fuel subsidy, do I think fuel subsidy was highly flawed? Yes, but you had about 1,000 people controlling the whole market. Why weren't these people prosecuted? Why didn't you stop the gap? What happened was it was increased for Nigerians. But moving away from that, also electricity, the minister came up and said they needed to increase electricity tariffs, remove electricity subsidies, which they did, and then created the band A, B, C, D alphabet situation. But he's also come back this year again to say that our electricity tariffs are not sustainable, that they need to still go higher. As someone in the energy space, what's the explanation for all of this?
I think instantly the first thing that comes to mind, and we have to be very honest with this conversation, and we'll get to that point eventually where it is going to be a lot of things will be exposed. But there are so many non-state actors within the states. This is the reality of energy.
But the state should fix it.
And
why are
the challenge is when you try to,
this?
And this is not in defense of course, this is not in defense of the states. It's just the reality that we come to see, even when we as outsiders come in to fix things within the system. You realize that these non-state actors, in your bid to actually even try to fix things, will work so hard against you that everything scatters. Let's pick NGOs, for instance, right? So to deviate from the energy sector, or even individuals, you can decide to go back to your community and say, I want to build XYZ kilometers of road. It's your money, your private money, and you want to do it to build your community. You have 3, 4 people come and say, no, you are not going to do this until you do XYZ other things. And you ask them, why do I have to do these things? What I'm doing is to help you, is to help your community. And they end up frustrating your efforts so much that you either back out and not do it at all, or yield to their request. And this is one of the issues that we face in Nigeria across all sectors, whether it's the energy sector, the transportation sector, across all sectors. So this is one of the challenges, a major challenge that we have realized. So many non-state actors calling the shots.
How can this be fixed? Because we can't keep complaining.
Over time, and I say this very cautiously, so not to incite anything, but over time, the revolution will happen. And people will realize that truly, we the citizens, the power is in our own hands. Because what's happening now is that the non-state actors have instilled so much fear into both the citizens and even the government officials. And they won't say this publicly because they are politicians. You don't want to come off as weak. So, but over time, this revolution will be televised, and we the citizens will realize that, no, enough is enough.
You speak about revolution, and a peaceful one at that, but the masses will beg to differ. Former President Muhammadu Buhari, who rode on the winds of change and integrity and the likes, came into government and fenced the space where people go to protest. Young people tried to protest in 2020 and they were killed. Most people went to vote in 2023 and they were beaten up.
Young people did not try to protest. Young people protested.
And people were killed and gaslighted.
And we went out on the street and we protested, and the protest was televised. And as a ripple effect of that,
yes,
engineer here enjoyed Labour Party for a little while before leaving them.
I didn't enjoy anything in Labour Party.
But you chose, you were not in Labour Party as at 2020.
Because as a young person, I felt that, okay, this party was bringing an energy. We could use it to change the situation in our states.
Yes. And that's a ripple effect from the
I went around to campaign. So when you say young people, I don't even also believe that the young Nigerians are ready. Nigerians are not ready. Because I talked about transactional leadership. The followers are more transactional than the leaders. When it gets to the time, these same young people you are talking about will tell you that if you don't bring money, we will not vote. Look at the situation in the south and the north, especially with the southerners.
Yeah.
In the north, Merua, somebody who is pushing water and selling water, will gather money and pay his transport to the north to vote. And that's why when Labour Party we said we're rigged, it was not true. We didn't do any work in the north. The northerners did their job, sold water, cut nails to go and vote. Our people in their houses say if you don't give them money, they will not come out to vote, even when the voting polling unit is in their doorstep. So I think that we were too emotional, even as a party at that time, and we looked at the emotions of our people down here and forgot that Nigerian election is about north and south. And if we are going to be doing our job, we must do it properly in every nook and cranny of the country. So in certain areas, nothing was done. And that's what the results reflected. So when you say young people, these young people are not ready. I saw it. I told them that I don't have money. I don't have the money to play this kind of politics of buying and selling. But I had a manifesto that I communicated to the people that talked to the issues. But on the day of election,
I asked him a question, which I'm going to ask you to wrap this up. What's the way forward?
I think the way forward
is
that we need to look at our leadership selection process. The electoral process, the only thing that will solve Nigeria's problem is when we begin to tinker with our electoral process and ensure that that process is devoid of these manipulations that we have seen. Don't forget that in 2015, there was confidence on the part of the masses on the electoral process. And that's why after that election, you could see that people who ordinarily came out to engage the people were able to get their way into government. But are we going to say that as of today? No, because that confidence has been eroded because of the roles that both the judiciary and the actors played. One, if you are going into the judiciary to challenge the process, you must come prepared. The Labour Party, unfortunately, was not prepared. That's why when the Supreme Court was saying that where are the agents in the units who will come and testify, there were none, because we didn't do our preparation.
Engineer, unfortunately, because of time, we would have to put a stop to this. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your contributions. We'll definitely bring you back on to have future conversations. That's the much we can take on the political segment. When we return, more on the weekend show.